Hello everyone and welcome back to the Liverpool Regional 2023. I'm Marcus Pataro and I'm joined here by Mike Ellis. How are you feeling today, Mike?
I'm feeling great, actually. There's been some amazing new decks we've seen, and none more exciting than this next matchup
Oh boy, we brought you a spicy one, chat. So right now we have Stefan Ivanov and Head Mafia. They're getting ready to start, and they're both playing two very interesting decks. How about you introduce the deck that Stefan is playing?
Well, you can see right there, Gudra V-Star with the Lost Engine to power it up. So that walling ability of Gudra and the healing potential of the card is going to be great in this matchup because they're up against Zoroark V-Star, one of the highest damage outputs, most aggressive decks in the game, but it's not set up to take big numbers like, what's that, 360?
Yeah, exactly.
350.
So the numbers are going to be really important in this matchup. Once again, Gudra V-Star has 270 HP and can tank up to 80 more if he does the attack. And then again, Zoroark can do 50 damage for every bench Pokemon that will have damage on it. That means it will reach up to 250, which means it will never be able to one-shot the Gudra.
But the thing about Gudra is it's attacking for not a one-hit knockout. It's always only
Exactly,
two-hit knockouts. But on the other side, the Hisuian Zoroark V-Star has 4 Sharon's Care. So there's going to be a lot of healing going on here. An amazing start for these two. Getting the pretty much the dream start for both of them. And you see attachment there. And there's only 4 energy in that Hisuian Zoroark deck, so finding an energy can often be quite a tough challenge.
Exactly, only 4 copies of the double turbo. And once again, the Hisuian Zoroark deck, turn 1, doesn't want to do that much. Just attaching an energy is the perfect start for them. They would like, of course, maybe to fill in some more Pokemons. But look at that list. There is no single copy of Bippass. All they want to do is just like slowly and steadily try to set up. Once again, Zoroark V ability is really good. It's basically Professor Research. And this just means that slowly and steadily you will be able to build up your board.
Yeah, and we can see the Hisuian matchup. I don't think we've ever seen this on stream. Both Pokemon were introduced in Legends Arceus. And you can see them here, the Hisuian Pokemon, Gudra and Zoroark, and very different and unique approaches. One a bit glass cannon in the Zoroark, and the other one looking to be a wall. So we'll see how this plays out. I don't think either of these players or anyone at home will know how this is going to pan out. We can have our ideas, but there's going to be a lot of missed knockouts followed by healing. So we'll see how that pans out throughout the game.
Once again, 4 copies of Chair Scare. For those of you that are not that do not remember what Chair Scare does, you can pick up one of your normal type Pokemon and put it back into your hand. That basically means that Gudra, once again, will not be able to take one shot and knock out the Zoroark, and it will always try to get back into the hand, but obviously it needs to chain it. Very interesting deck as well. I would bring a bit of the attention to the supporter line here.
Yeah, the supporter line on both sides, there's some unique counts there we've not seen much of. But, you know, Avery in there, and there's a card that, what's it, Roseanne's Backup?
Yeah, Roseanne's Backup. You can shuffle up to 4 different things. I believe it's a special energy Pokemon tool, supporter, and I believe also an item. Once again, to correct myself, an energy card. So any energy can be, and of course, running only 4 copies of the special energy that you will absolutely need. Then Stadium card, Pokemon tool, or Pokemon itself. And you can choose one or more. You're going to have to choose them all.
So an interesting thing with these counts is we mentioned there's 4 Sharon's Care. There's only one of those Roseanne's Backups. There's no pal pads, so it's very much like a commitment to the line that they wanted. I mean, just looking at this myself, I would have thought maybe a pal pad would work quite nicely in this. But the Hisuian Zoroark as a deck has kind of fallen out of fashion because it's just not quite able to consistently follow its game plan. It hates playing against single prize decks. So we'll see how that pans out. But the Sharon's Care approach, the 4 Sharon's Care, really does account for the single prize matchup and really accepting that the only way you're going to win that is by healing all that damage away.
Indeed, and look at that. Turn 1, Stefan already has 4 cards in his lost zone. That means if he is able to retreat, that Cramorant can attack right away. One more thing to discuss about the Zoroark deck is that it needs a heavy line committed to the whole Zoroark gimmick. You know, 50 damage, but for every bench Pokemon that you have that has a damage counter on it. Therefore, you need to run 2 Gengas, such as in this case, Damage Pump, that moves 2 damage counters from whenever one of your Pokemon to another one, and then Gape Jaw Bog.
Yeah, 4 of them, in fact. I mean, again, you said it's a tough gimmick to sort of get going, and that's part of the challenge of this deck and why it fell out of favour. Is it was for a deck with so much draw potential, it can feel clunky at times because it's so much about the order of things coming out. You know, it's all well and good benching all your Pokemon that you need for the 50 damage, but if you're not benching them while Gaped Your Bog is in play, you're not getting that damage out on
exactly.
onto
And you need to be very careful as well when you play your stadiums. Stadiums are so important in this metagame. There's so many stadiums that just mess with you. Look at that. Just talking about that, Temple of Sinnoh from the side of Stefan. That means that the double turbo energy, which is the only, once again, the only energies that Hedy runs, are the only energies, and they get counted as well by the Temple of Sinnoh.
Yeah, so Stefan, a player a lot of you will recognise. We missed out on seeing Stefan at Stuttgart. They were feeling quite unwell.
Indeed.
So it's good to see them back. And another thing I always appreciate with Stefan is the nail polish matching the sleeves. Something always to look forward to each event.
Yeah, look at that. It's in the same tonality.
Yeah,
Be really careful about this.
I asked him about it, I think, at Warsaw, and he says he always tries to match his nails to the sleeves. So amazing little bit of flair there. And of course as well, Stefan, one of the top players in Europe.
Exactly. I think he's already qualified as well for Worlds. So just, I think he's playing a bit for fun, trying something new, good reset. Who knows, maybe it will even bring him to such heights. So right now, as you can see, Stefan, great start, 110 damage already on that Zorak. That means next turn, he may as well take the knockout on that Zorak, which reaches up to 270 HP. So right now, Hedy needs to find something, needs to start putting some pressure. There's a good on the bench, maybe he will try to get that, but yeah, the start is very tough for him.
Yeah, just had a little look, and it seems like Stefan is on 410, so does have that Worlds Invite, 7th currently in Europe, hoping to push up into that top 5 this event. But in terms of players since the modern era, a name we all recognise so much, 3rd in terms of CP across the modern era.
Absolutely. Winner of multiple ICs.
And multiple regional winner from France. So Stefan, a very well-known player. A lot of you will recognise him.
And he also writes very nice articles. If you have the chance, give it a read because he's very mathematical. He's a very intelligent person. And you can see it right there. Look at how meticulous he is as well in his way he's building his decks. He really has a good idea of what is going on in the meta game.
Yeah, so I wonder what his mindset with Gudra V-Star was coming into this event and what the particular targets were with it.
Absolutely. I think he wants to deal with either decks that... so right now, the only deck that can deal an arbitrarily large amount of damage is Rayquaza Lost Box, I would say. Obviously, Mew Fusion Strike version can do it, but that's the version that sort of fell out of favor. The double turbo, more inclined version is the one that is most common right now. Yeah, Lugia right now does not have them.
Veltal, I guess, would be an option.
Yeah, Veltal is always an option, but I suppose with like Temple of Sinnoh and other secondary attackers as well, he will try to sort of manage that out. And as well, I think he runs a copy of Drapion, especially for either Mewtwo Union or Mew VMAX. Therefore, he's still mindful that the deck is still a big threat.
Yeah, Mewtwo V Union was an interesting one because it was a great deck when Mew was not being targeted as much, but the moment Mew did well and Drapion started to find its way into decks, it then got hit in the crossfire.
It's something to be always mindful when you come to a tournament. It's like, I'm going to bring this deck, it's not really counted, but then again, what are the similar decks that may be affected, that did well recently? Look at that, he's throwing the good reviews across the board just to have a look. Yeah, Hedy, I think you haven't seen this one, buddy.
Yeah, and then on the other side, the Hisuian Zorak V-Star, notably one of the decks that when it works and it's against the right deck, it's near impossible to beat.
Stomps.
The damage output of it is so high. You know, it's 300 minus the 20 from the double turbo plus 10 with 30 with the choice band, and then with this build you've got the Alakazam, the Radiant Alakazam, to move damage around as well. So
absolutely.
Potential to hit big numbers, but it's just that clunkiness that people often fall short on, or the fact that single prize decks can often trade well into it, like Reggie's when the Dunsparce isn't available and so on.
Absolutely. So yeah, right now Hedy is trying to set up a second Hisuian Zorak. I think he's just going to let this one go. It's very likely that it will be knocked out. Try to stall a bit back with that Serena with the second mode to target a V and bring it up to the active. But right now Stefan, I think, is going for that magical number of 7. Colorless Experiment, putting it up to 6 cards very soon, and just one more activation. And you know what comes next.
Indeed. So we see the final decisions here with Colorless Experiment. Always quite tough one, isn't it? When you
need a lot of good cards.
Yeah, it's always the Lost Engine. I have so much admiration for these top players and how well they execute the decisions so consistently. Because there's a lot of decisions in a day of Swiss that you have to make, and it is those top players who are able to make the right decision more often and have more success. So the Escape Rope, interestingly now, going to be targeting that bench one.
He runs
might
a
get it
lot
back
of
in a bit.
copies. Yeah, he runs 4 copies of Scoop of Net, 3 copies of Switch, and 3 copies of Escape Rope. He really wants to have that pivot going on with Comfort. Right now, we're going to reach the magical number 7 cards. I mean, Mirage Gate is online. Therefore, any attackers may be set up from one moment to another.
Yes, it's always weird when you're playing against a Lost Box and you see an Escape Rope, because in your head you think, oh, targeting this Pokemon, and then a few moments later they get this next Escape
Another
Rope
one!
out, and it's like, okay, you wanted that one in the whole time.
Let's take another dance. Very interestingly, the Hisuian Zorak list also runs 2 copies of Avery. You think he was fearing a bit the Eternatus Weezing matchup?
Potentially, yeah. I mean, it would work well against Regis as well, which can sometimes be quite rough.
Yeah.
I think most decks right now really want to fill out their bench. Even stuff like Lugia, if you come up against that and you choose at the right time, they have to start thinking, do I get rid of this attacker or do I get rid of the Archeops? Alex,
I'm sorry,
that
Alex.
was round one.
I'm sorry.
Let's leave Alex.
Yeah, let's leave the past.
alone.
Let's leave the past.
He's having a struggle of a day.
Yeah, I think it sort of caught up right now. I think it's 2-1 if I remember correctly. So yeah, best of luck. So right now on the field, once again the Crown being promoted. 110 damage. He's just spreading out the damage, preparing some knockouts, and I think this is the correct approach because I don't know if Stefan knows about the Turn Scare, although Amani would just play the 4, doesn't matter. But spreading a bit of damage, knowing that you can't one-shot the Hisuian Zorak is probably the right approach. This way, you just set yourself up, prepare yourself to getting some of the bigger knockouts. And yeah, the V-Star was already used actually by the Hisuian Zorak. Therefore, we maybe see a bit of a slow game here by Hedy.
Yeah, and it's also do you really want to Sharon's Care a Zorok with 110 damage on it when you're setting up? You really can't be affording to pick up your Pokemon at this stage. So, and we saw right there the usage of supporters is going to be so important at this early stage.
Yeah, now he's really fishing for a stadium. Look at that. The Temple of Sinnoh is just so rough against it. He's going to bench the Alakazam, probably attach. I don't know if he's going to attach the Choice Belt because that's his last damage modifier. There's already one attached. Yeah, he's reading as well, the Alakazam. A lot of new. We're experiencing some new cards today.
Yeah, the Alakazam was an interesting one because when people saw that, they didn't think too much of it. But there are a few niche decks where it's the right Radiant to play. You know, the big reason why you wouldn't play Alakazam, because this is a very powerful effect that it's got there, it's just because there's so many other good Radiant cards, especially Greninja and Charizard, which are the most popular of the Radiants. So Alakazam not getting much play, but it's nice to see it here on the feature table.
Indeed. So right now he's deciding to move 2 damage counter with the damage bump. Is going to move them down there onto the Alakazam, therefore boosting its attack. And I think he's going to go for a Dark Asset with the Crobat that he just fetched. So let's see if he wants to attach that. No, he just wants to go ahead, draw some cards. He already attached the Choice Belt actually. That's the Hisuian Zorak V-Star in his end. Did he find the stadium?
Yeah, so is it going to evolve up the active? I do wonder what the game plan here is for Hedy. You know, the finding the right supporter at the right time is going to be tough. We mentioned there's 4 counter Sharon's Care. There is also the research to help withdraw, but there's 2 of those prized. There's a Marnie prize. The Eldegoss is also prized, so the accessibility to the right supporter at the right time is a little bit tough right now. Very
rough, yes. He may be able to get the knockout run out. Now he's going to discard that Gengar. In case you are not aware, the Gengar really wants to be in the discard. With the ability, it will come back just right away, even if it's a stage 2 into your bench, but with 3 damage counters, which normally would be a liability, but in this case, it's exactly what you want.
So if anyone at home was counting out either of the Hisuian Pokemon, you can see here these guys 3-0 with their builds. We'll see how far they can make it throughout today. You know, 9 rounds of Swiss today.
Indeed.
It's a grueling task, especially as you start getting into round 7, 8, 9, and you start matching up against all the other people doing so well. So early stages here, tough matchup for both of them to come in with the lack of knowledge of the matchup.
Yeah, this feels like even a top 8 match. It's a France mirror, actually, which I just noticed. But the decks really feels like some of these decks that are very niche, but somehow are able to do so well. But very unfortunate here by Hedy. He does not find one of his 4 copies of the Bog.
So no attack there, and there is 1 energy in the prizes, so finding another energy to be able to attach to. It would remove the minus 20 damage as well, but you don't really want to be committing 2 double turbo energies to a single Zoroark.
Exactly. I think Hedy needs to draw something amazing, somehow turn this game around, because look at that. Mirage Gate is on its way. That's the Gudra V-Star is about to hit hard. Yeah,
so the 2 energy required, water and metal. So this is the thing, right? With Mirage Gate builds, is they love these decks where they have multi-energy attackers. So for the longest time, the amazing rares, no chance they'll be viable. And then we've seen special energy acceleration and Mirage Gate acceleration. Same thing here for the dragon Pokemon, where they often have two different types. And on this occasion, finding both a water and a metal energy using that Mirage Gate is perfect. So in combination with the Lost Engine, Gudra is very much at home and gets that first knockout. Zoroark is going to be taken down, and now the damaged one promoted into the active spot.
Exactly. Rolling Iron, if I remember correctly, the name of the attack. 200 damage, and next turn, Gudra Vista will receive 80 damage less, as if Hedy needs some extra difficulties. Oh, but look at that. That's a Charon Scare. That's a good start. Already removing that damage. That's exactly what he wants to do. This is how he can get back into this matchup. Keep removing and removing all your damaged Pokemon. And so right now he's thinking he's going to promote the other. He's doing Zoroark, but he needs absolutely this stadium. But how can he draw more if he already used the Charon Scare as a support for turn? Yeah, he's shaking his head a bit.
He's also, I mean, one of the advantages with Zoroark is it's got that amazing Phantom Star ability, which can be used once per game. But on this occasion, he had to use it early to try and get into the game.
Exactly.
And so he doesn't have access to use that in combination with something like a Sharon's Care in a turn where you can't use your draw supporters. And you can see Hedy not particularly comfortable right now and having to promote that Gengar to sacrifice it next turn.
Exactly. So right now what happened, the Zoroark attack, his first attack, Void Return, does not have an energy cost. Therefore, it dealt 30 damage. But Gudra Vista says no thank you, because I will take 80 less damage this turn.
Free switch, though.
Free switch,
no,
exactly. You're gonna
there's an upside.
Yeah, it's pretty good. You put Gengar, and Gengar is just going to come back, and giving an odd praise trade to your opponent, it's fine, because your only attacker is on Zoroark. But I think Hedy is packing it up, and we're going to game 2, because, yeah, very tough start here by Hedy.
Well, we didn't know how this was going to go, but one thing's for sure, when Zoroark V-Star doesn't get everything it needs out early on, it's always going to struggle no matter the matchup, and that's one of its biggest downfalls as a deck, is it's so tough to pull off consistently. When it does work, amazing deck, but the question here is, can it work against a walling deck like Gudra, which I feel like has the upper hand?
Exactly. So I feel like if the Zoroark is able to set up, it's able to put all its Pokemon into play and then draw enough cards, at that point you're able to just loop the Charon Scare, go through them, damage the Gudra, knock out some of the important Pokemon in the bench. And once again, Gudra has 3 cost of retreat. Once again, Stefan plays a lot of switch effects. But at the same time, it's sort of clunky. Once it's in the active spot, you kind of want to just stick it there. And, the damage trade is very awkward. And
we didn't even get a chance to see Gudra use its V-Star ability, which would just completely reset the game. You know, the Moisture Star healing all damage. It's those kind of turns which can completely switch it in favor. But we'll see how the healing effects of both sides with Sharon's Care and that Moisture Star elongate this game into a longer match. But at this stage, I genuinely feel like Gudra has the upper hand just because of the consistency it holds.
Agree. I must have to agree. I feel like just the consistency given by the Lost Zone Angel. Oh, look at that. They're ready to just lightning speed. Oh, no. Hedy once again.
Oh,
go.
No.
Oh my god, look at those prizes. That's and Zoroark's in the prizes. And also on energy.
For anyone who missed that, Hedy did choose to go first, as most people do with their decks these days, and just gestured a pass. So if a Cramorant is reached here, we will see a donk from Stefan, but he's going to start off with a capture energy on that flower-selected Comfey.
Oh my, this may go south very quickly. There's already one card in the last zone. That is going to probably fetch, that capture energy is probably going to fetch another Comfey, and we may see really turn 1 knockout. Let's see the prizes. Let's choose which effects in the prizes for Stefan. A bit less chance there, but, you know, he still plays, what, 7 more?
Yeah.
Maybe even more, 9 more, yeah.
Yeah, plenty in there. And you could see some of the facial expressions from Hedy. This is a classic thing. When you're in this position, if the player is looking anywhere but the game, they do not want to take in what they're seeing. It is just so frustrating when you're in this position as a Pokemon trading card game player, but no more frustrating than when you're on the feature table, especially in Game 2 after losing the first game. So Stefan in a very strong position here. Even if it can't get that first turn attack off, Hedy is going to be behind for a while now with that Manaphy alone.
Once again, the V-Star technology needs you to have the Pokemon in the bench. It's like evolving a Pokemon, basically. Yeah. So you need to have in the bench the turn before. This means we will not see a Hazen and Zoroark until turn... Well, let's see. Turn 3. That's very late, I think.
Oh, another flower selecting. Let's see.
One more Comfey. Is that gonna go? I think that's a quick ball. Let's see what else he has in his hand.
There's a Chorus Experiment in hand. This could get sticky very quickly.
There's a good, right? There's a bunch of energies. and an escape rope, actually.
Was there,
So, yeah, that's a quick ball, discarding a metal energy. Let's see what he goes for. He could even go for the Luminion. Yeah, I think that's what he's doing. He's going to go for the Luminion, get that Chorus, and hopefully find ways. Because, once again, Chorus is going to put 2 more cards in the Lost Zone. As long as he finds a way to switch, and the Cramorant, this is going to be a very quick game.
And the Chorus letting you look at 5 cards. There's a high possibility we see that there. And we see that there. The Luminion straight into the Chorus experiment. It's happening right now. Stefan, is he able to steal this game too on his first turn? Again, another amazing benefit of being a Lost Box deck is you do have access to early damage output. Many other decks do take a turn to set up, but here, access to the Cramorant. There is a switch and a scoop up net in there, so there is potential to get another Comfey dig.
He is eyeing up another Chorus experiment, I think. This end contains a Temple, Gudra V-Star, 1 energy.
Escape rope essentially acts as a switch, so that scoop up net resetting the flower selecting could be a way to dig a bit deeper.
Yeah, with the escape rope, then he will need to find another 1 more way. Oh, he already has a net, so and a switch in there. Let's see what he's thinking. This is very tough. They could go either way right now, but I mean, Stefan is feeling good, I think.
I think you also got to bear in mind that he's making the decisions that could get him the Cramorant attack off at the start, but not going to set him up for failure for the future. He wants to try and make sure he's safe as well. He's got the Gudra there to play down, so that's a pretty safe position to be in. And so now might look to get the Comfey or might just sit comfortable knowing that he's still going to be able to win the matchup.
I don't think he has a way to reactivate the Comfey. I think True Scoop of Nets to try to pull this off somehow, maybe too risky. I think he just says go. Yeah, there we go.
It would have been an overreach if he were to try and escape rope into a scoop up, because next turn we'll be getting into that 7 range, so that the Mirage gates are activated. So Stefan in a very strong position, not able to get that first turn attack off, but still good.
I had a peek at Hedi's hand. I think it contains
a bog, a pass,
Charon's Care, 2 damage bumps, and Air Balloon, and
there it is. Capture energy.
There's a Cramorant, and good night.
Oh, unfortunate there for Hedi. And they're going to be, that happens. They're going to be chatting that out, and there's nothing you can do to control that. It just happens sometimes.
It's a card game.
Equally, as you mentioned, some of those cards in the hand. This is where we talk about this Hisuian Zoroark being clunky at times. There's so many cards that you need at the right time during the game, and if they're in your hand at the wrong time, it can make it very difficult to get your plan activated. So a Manaphy start, loads of things like the Sharon's Care and damage pumps, which you don't need early on, and you get
It is unfortunate. It's a card game after all. There's 60 cards in your deck, 6 go in the prize, 7 you draw at the beginning. If those are not the good ones, then unfortunately you don't have much chance.
What about the Gudra deck, though? What do we think of that?
I think the Gudra deck has a lot of potential. I think as long as it doesn't run into many Rayquaza decks, he's going to feel good. But even if you run into Rayquazas, you got Cramorant, you got 2 Ordinary Roads, so you can start looping up, and that's really good against single prize attackers. And overall, the deck is something new. The deck is something that people don't really know how to play against. It's not very well defined. There's not many counters. The Pokemon doesn't even have weakness, to be fair.
Yeah, so they can almost play it a bit like
you need to play fair against
Giratina V-Star used to play against Lost Box, which was turn it into a Lost Box deck with a few less resources.
Exactly.
And then at the right time, put the big V-Star out that can take a few hits, and then that really tests the opponent's game management. Because if they put a Rayquaza down early, you can remove it from play, and so on and so on. So a high skill deck there for Stefan. Has to really calculate the numbers, make sure that walling is done at the right times, the healing is done at the right times, and all those Lost Engine decisions are going to be coming into it.
I think overall the fit of the Lost Box engine into Gudra is the right way to approach this deck. I saw some versions with Melanie in the past. We tried to set up the Gudra, but it doesn't really work. It's not the same thing when you have the ability to see so many cards. The card advantage is just insane, and overall you can play a much higher number of resources. Like he plays 3 Boss's Orders, 4 Scoop Up Nets, 4 Mirage Gates, and having access to these powerful cards just changes completely how you play the game.
And Arceus as well. That was a combination with Gudra, which I don't think it ever really did as well as people hoped it would, just because there's too many 2-prize Pokemon in play. That the Gudra couldn't fully wall out. You'd have to have an Arceus in play, so that would give up 2 prizes. Then they'd find a way to get through the other things. And the advantage of that Lost Box style deck to build around is you can start using 1-prize attackers and start setting that chip damage up that sets you up for the amazing Rolling Iron attack. I mean, to hit 350 damage in one go, like you mentioned, there's very few decks that can do it.
Absolutely. Rayquaza can do it barely. I mean, he can do 400 damage, but you need 5 energies attached for taking 2 prizes?
And discarding all of them as well.
Exactly, and you need next turn to do the same if there's 2 good res, because I think if we'll see against Stefan, and maybe he's against one of those Lost Box Rayquaza decks, that would be maybe his approach. We don't know. But the real matter of this deck is that people don't really know how to play against it. He also has some text, like I mentioned, the drop in V against Mew, which I think maybe its hardest matchup, because in the moment that it starts hitting hard and Mew tanks a lot, like natural, just being a VMAX, and then he can just run away into the deck. I think it can be a spooky matchup.
Yeah, I mean, that's Stefan's style, really, isn't it? He likes to play these sort of unusual decks, and he likes to innovate decks that have already kind of been formed, and then he puts a few different spins on it. So whenever you go up against him, you always know there's going to be something you have to think about that's a little bit unusual. And I'm sure he's getting a lot of people asking, what does that card say? Can I have a little look at that one, as we saw with the Gudra V-Star. And so a smart player, a very successful player, and one who I'm very excited to
I think one of Stefan's favorite deck was Zora Chess, which was a really old deck in which he tried to set up putting free prizes with Naganadel GX attack one bunch of time ago, and the deck really planned out one big turn in which you take 2 knockouts with Dewgong, some random rare. But yeah, it's very dangerous if you go against a fan. We're actually about to interview him. We're just getting ready. So yeah, what would you expect Stefan to give us some insights on?
Why he's chosen the deck. That's always the question. It's the first question you ask Stefan every single time. I mean, I don't know if they're going to ask that question first, but I will just check one more time. Are they ready? Is Stefan ready? We'll be getting Stefan right here.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to go for a quick little minute break, but don't go anywhere because we'll have Stefan right here to tell you why he chose Gudra V-Star.
See you later.